Chapter 8. Potlucking. This was my favorite. After the service, a sea of crockpots and casserole dishes were retrieved from everyone's cars and brought down to the large hall that made up the church's basement. Our crowd was loud and boisterous, with no kids program to stop the toddlers and teenagers from adding to that volume. It was apparently time for potluck, and Mom was freaking out about not having brought anything. Dad and his wife Audrey tried to reassure her that it was fine, but Mom was being Mom and would not be consoled in her worrying about implied social norms and lasagna. She sat with Dad and the extended family, aunts and uncles. I never really heard of them before, but still lived and farmed in the area. Aunt Ruth and Paul were there too, but not Jay. Jay and Kylie sat a few tables back with a lot of the same kids from the pews upstairs. They waved me over, and after a condescending nod from Mom, I weaved through the sea of churchgoers and sat down across from Jay beside Kylie. Sarah was across from her with a bunch yet to be introduced youth types and the rest of the plain wooden table. "Sarah, have you met Chris yet?" Jay boisterously half-hollered over the din of the crowd. She leaned over and raised her voice and turned. "Yeah, he stole my spot," she said, and Jay and Kylie laughed a bit, and I swear she winked at me. I felt the need to correct the story, so I explained, "Met her yesterday before we went hunting. Poor guy, tried to skateboard on the crappy roads we have," Sarah joked back. "Chip seal is only really good for one thing, Chris," Jay suggested. "Oh yeah, what's that?" I asked. "Breaking windshields behind other vehicles," he said, holding back a laugh that really wasn't all that funny. Kylie seemed to like it, though. "I met Sarah as she was on her way to Kylie's place," I said. "I didn't realize how small the community was because the neighbors are so hard to see, what with all the trees and kilometers between them and all." "It's nice," Kylie said. "Everyone's close by enough." "You ready for school tomorrow?" Jay asked. I had not really thought about it, just as we had moved in, but my first day of new school was less than 24 hours away, and all I had for it was a memory of what school was back in Ontario. "We'll show you around," Sarah said. "Yeah," said Kylie. "You're going to love Peyton County High. It's the best high school around." "To be clear, it's the only high school around," Sarah chimed in with added sarcasm. "And you'll love it as more of a threat than a promise, per se." "Still the best technically," Jay said, coming to the rescue of his girlfriend. Sarah sneered at him playfully, getting a meatball stolen off her plate in the process by Jay. The table laughed, and I tried to fake one, and I looked over to where Mom was sitting, and she was having a pleasant, if not socially awkward time with Dad's family. The meal ended with small talk and banter like we'd been traded between Jay and Sarah and Kyla as the audience, and I just kind of faded into the background, or at least as much of the background as I could manage. I like people, or at least like being around people. I just preferred not to be in a loud room where your only option for conversation was shouting or cheap jokes where everyone here was the first time while shouting. My mom noticed. Mom motioned for me to come over, and I stood up. "I guess we're leaving. I'll see you guys on the bus." I more asked than for confirmation, than need for the information. "Yeah," Jay said. "Bye, Chris," Sarah said, and we locked eyes for a second as I looked for the word bye in my vocabulary. Bye, yeah, bye," I said, and I left. I couldn't stop thinking about Sarah, though. Maybe it was because the rural area we in had so few people, and when they're all gathered at church, I could see how very few people there were in my peer group. Jay and Kylie, Sarah, were quite literally hundreds of square kilometers, and with each of us being seniors in high school, this tiny pool of potential friends seemed way too small compared to the throngs of people I knew and knew of in the city. I had lots of shallow friends whose names I didn't need to remember because I could find them by walking a block or two in any direction. Here, everyone needed to know each other because you couldn't just walk to anyone's house. Friendships were a deeper thing here. So having friendly, even cute neighbors was a blessing. Probably why so many people came to church to say thanks. We drove home and skipped dinner. Supper, and I was stuffed from the potluck at least 4 different kinds of hash brown casserole, more dessert squares than I care to recount. Sleep came fast and quietly, unlike the start of the day. No crows at night, only a big yellow school bus to look forward to the next day. Chapter 8. Yummy, right? I love potlucks. Make sure you check the description below for links to the book. You can get it on Amazon in paperback and for Kindle. See you guys.